Hey there, I wanted to show you quickly how to set up the automation for this content marketing workflow. I'm going to be using three different tools. One is Google Drive, where I will just create outlines and then store them for the writers. Then Airtable, which I use as a content calendar. And the last one will be Zapier, the tool that will help us automate the actual steps of the process. Right now, what you're seeing is Loom, which is a super nice tool for recording short videos like this. I'm gonna start recording and show you step by step how I automate the content marketing workflow. So first, here you're seeing the documents created by this automation. I'm gonna open one of them to show you how it looks and what type of content it has inside. And all this data is coming from Airtable. So this was created automatically when I just added a new record in Airtable. And as you can see, it includes the title, the topic, the target keyword, the angle to take, and then here, if we would be using clear scope to create the actual draft of the article, then here we would also have the clear scope link. I like to keep the outlines and the draft separated, and that's because I had situations before where the external writers would completely remove the guidelines or the recommendations that are basically this part, the initial part of an outline. They would delete that, and then the content wouldn't be exactly what I asked for, but there would be no outline anymore to go back to that and see what exactly is missing or what was not on point. So for this reason, I prefer to keep the outline and the draft as two separated documents. And yeah, like I said, this is how the outline created by Airtable/Zapier looks like. And all the documents are stored in this folder just to keep it organized. Of course, if you do it monthly or so, you can create additional folders for the month and so on. This is the template for the content calendar that I use for most of my clients. You see that I have the title, the status, the name of the writer's email, deadline and publishing date. Usually I like to have a week in between, but here I just put some random dates now. Then the topic, which your main category or theme or whatever you want to call it. The target keyword, the volume and the keyword difficulty. These two come from Ahref. Then we have the slug of the article, the angle, and the angle is important just to tell the writer what to write about and how to approach the topic. This is especially important to avoid writers, just saying all that's already online and just basically copy pasting the same content again and again. And it's also important because you want your content to have some sort of opinion. You want to have a point of view. Then we have the outline link and the clear scope draft link is empty because this is populated by the automation. I will show you in a few minutes. But the clear scope link is usually populated. And when we update this field, so the clear scope link, that's also when the first automation triggers. I'm gonna move now to Zapier. So this is all that you have in Airtable. It's just a content calendar. Later on, we're gonna add automations, but I'll show you that when we reach that point. So now I'll move to Zapier, where we have basically two different steps. Let me show you. Three steps actually. Create the documents in Drive only when there is a new record added in Airtable that meets certain criteria. And that is because the content calendar itself in Airtable is used also as an idea backlog. So you don't want to create a new file, like a new outline document, like you've seen here. You don't want to create one of these documents every time you add a title or a keyword or something. You want to do that only when you add a clear scope link, because that means that the article is ready to be sent to the writers or the outline. So in order to create these files, the first thing is we need to do is to make sure that we do have an entry that meets this criteria in Airtable. So we will use as a trigger the fact that there is a record in Airtable. Let me actually click edit to show you. So our event is a new record. When that's created, I've connected just with my Airtable account. Here I mention where exactly this trigger is found. So in this table, in this base, in this table, in this view. And then you can test the trigger first to see if there's any entry that satisfies the criteria. But so, like I said, I don't want to trigger the automation for every new entry. I want to trigger it only when there is a specific condition met. And that condition in my case, you see here that you can select to delay something, to filter, or to format. In this case, I chose to only trigger this automation if the clear scope draft exists. So if that field is populated, let me show you here. If this field is populated, it means that the article is ready to be sent to the writer, the outline. So I want to trigger the automation. And then if there is a record that satisfies this criteria, then I'm going to create a file in Google Drive, one of these outline documents. I've connected my drive. And what I want to do, I'm going to add the documents in this folder, outlines. The file name is the title. So if I click here, you can see that I can choose, well, which data to include. And if I click show all the options, I can select the title of the article or whatever I want to put there. And then the content itself of the file is title, topic, keyword, deadline, angle to take, and clear scope link. And these are basically the fields that you've seen here also. It's exactly the same structure because this content here comes from this automation basically. If we only run the automation up to step 3, then all we have is these documents created here. But I also want to add a link here back in Airtable so that I can have a reference of this outline. So here I want to come back to Airtable after I created the document in Drive and update that specific column. So I'm gonna click on that I want to update the record in Airtable, continue, and the action will be that I want to update in this base and in this table. I want to update the same record, but only the outline link. So I don't want to update all the other cells because I don't need to do it. And I'm gonna use the link of the article. So if I click continue, retest and review, because this Zap is already running, they say they've sent something to Airtable 1 second ago. The table here with the updates, you see that they added the link here. But the last step is to go back to Airtable and in automation, I already have it built here, but normally you go to create automation, add trigger. I'm gonna show you with the existing one. I want to send writers a notification by email just to let them know that the outline is ready and they can start working on it. And I will do that by changing the status of the article from to do to send to writer. So basically here the trigger is very simple. When the record matches this condition in table 1, the status is sent to writer. I'm gonna send an email to the writer, action type, then the description is just for me to know what's happening. I'm gonna send it to writer email, and you can add here basically the field that contains the data. So I selected writer email. Let me go back. And then I added myself just to receive a copy of the email to make sure that everything is correct. The subject is new outline and then the title of the article. And then here I just say, hey writer, the deadline shouldn't be here. Let me delete it. Hey writer, do you have time to work on the outline below? This is the link. This is the clear scope link. This is the deadline. Thanks a lot. And that is it basically. And then you can have the test if you want the automation, but I already know that it's working.